Hello everybody. This is a tutorial on how to monogram your own towels using not an embroidery machine but just a regular sewing machine. And I'm going to see about sharing this video with my other groups. So we'll go ahead and share and give people time to get on the video. I'd love to hear if any of you have ever done any monogram towels before, and if you have, if you had any particular challenge that you would like me to discuss. So I'm filming alone today. Couldn't have anyone to handle the camera for me, so we'll see how well this goes. Let's see. And if you are there, please feel free to put your name and where you're watching from in the comments below. Alrighty. Monogramming can be really challenging because you have that high nap of the towel to deal with, and how do you get your threads to actually lay down or cover up those loops. And then sometimes if you've ever tried to put a towel into a hoop, you know that it's very difficult to get the fabric taut inside the hoop and without destroying the towel itself. You end up getting what's called hoop marks on your towel. We have thunderstorm going on right now. You never know what's going to happen when you go live. So if you hear rumbling, know that that's what it is. And we're very, very happy that the monsoonal flow has kicked in and we're starting to have the monsoon again. So let's see here. I need to share with the group. Feel free to let any of your friends know that we're filming about this right now. If you know anyone that, even if you have an embroidery machine, you're going to find this beneficial. And how many of you do not have an embroidery machine but wish that you did? And if you do, if you hit the wow face, then you can talk to the other person that also posted a wow face and know that you're not the only one without an embroidery machine. So let's see, I'll share one more place here and then I will kick into gear. Got to share on the Octi-Hoop group. Wouldn't want to leave out the Octi-Hoop people, since this is going to be done using my Octi-Hoops. Okay, there goes some more thunder rumbling. Hi everyone, it's so nice to see your little waves. I didn't see those the other day. Those are cute. Let's see if it's going to be interesting because I'm using my cell phone and I'm going to have to flip the view around at one point, and hopefully I won't get you all dizzy when I do it. And then if it doesn't work, then well, it's going to be interesting. I just need to find the video on my page. There we go. Now I just have to mute myself. There we go. All right, I think I'm doing better than I did the other day. Monogramming. If you have anyone that's going to get married soon, it can cost you quite a bit to have them done professionally. If you have your own embroidery machine, you may have, hi, you're from Prescott, Sarah. Sorry is how you pronounce that. My eyesight is not what it used to be. And hi, Vivian from Trujillo. Is that how you pronounce it? This is fun, isn't it? Nothing better than sewing on a rainy day. The last thing, I just hope the power doesn't go out, because the thunders, the large cloud is right above us. Perfect timing. The Octi-Hoops are a product that I created to make it so everybody could do free motion. Everybody. And that means even children as young as 3 years old can embroider using them, and we can embroider on anything from wedding veils to leather purse flaps and boot flaps. And you can make a wallet and then write somebody's name on it, just like you write with a pen. Now, if you don't think your writing's very good, we have some wonderful products to make it so even if you're not artistic, that you can print designs on our stabilizer. And this is a stabilizer we call Stick and Rinse. If you want to make sure you always get our brand, because, you know, we invented it. This is the one with the dolphin on the label. So if you ever see a brand that kind of sounds like this and maybe has different spelling, don't be fooled. It's not the same. Stick and Rinse is very unique. It is a water-soluble stabilizer that does not have a bias. And it is printable, inkjet printable on one side, and the other side is a release liner that you can peel off. And then you expose. It's very warm in my sewing room today. I forgot to cool it down before going live. Here we go. So the Stick and Rinse stabilizer has this release liner, and now it's sticky, and it will hold on to your material. And a lot of you probably have used water-soluble stabilizers on your towels. However, you probably used one that wasn't an adhesive as well as water-soluble. And you may have had to do more than one layer to block the terry cloth loops. I'm sorry, my dog is scared of the lightning. Hold on. Come here, baby. She's all scared. So she needs to be right next to me. I'm going to put her on the chair. Can you sit there? No, you want mommy? Okay, here we go. Phew. We also have another product that's sticky. And let's see. Luz Nola Lorenzo. Where are you from? And I love to know what kind of sewing machines you guys have. You can even do what I'm about to show you on a featherweight. There's a way of monogramming with just a straight stitch and also using a zigzag and a straight stitch combined. If you've ever used a hoop that has an inner and outer ring, you know that you have to stretch the fabric in between the two rings. So what we have here is a hoop that has a special bottom on it. The reverse side of the frame, the top having the holes in it for the handles to drop in. And the dog is trying to get on the table. Sorry, she's so distracting. It's okay, baby. It's okay, lay down. Do any of you have a dog? Put a picture of your dog in the comments so that I can see what your puppy looks like. All right, we're gonna get the back of the hoop ready for the embroidery, and how you do that is you take our stick and tear stabilizer. Pardon my reach. And it has a tree frog on it, and this is something my father invented over 20 years ago, and he's the one that started all the floating of your fabric with his product called the Hoop It All, which unfortunately is no longer sold. So we're going to take this stabilizer and I'm going to trace around it and switch from having the camera facing me and start showing the action. Do any of you have any questions? Feel free to pose them to me, but know that I probably will have to address them after filming, as I don't have an assistant to read them to me today. So let's see if I can flip this camera around without getting you all dizzy. And, well, that was really easy, wasn't it? Awesome. So this is the iron is, whoops, sorry, try not to spin you around too fast. I have the iron set right now on cotton setting, but I'm going to take it down and go all the way down to synthetic. And the reason I'm doing that is because we're going to protect the terry cloth towel. The back of the towel itself has these loops, and if you stick this directly onto a sticker, when you go to peel it off, the loops of the terry cloth pull out and the back of your hoop towel then doesn't look pretty. Have any of you ever experienced that? Know that I have a solution for you. It is our Hold Light, and this is a stabilizer with a hummingbird on the label, and it is a fusible as well. And we also use this for backing appliques. So what you want to do with this is you want to cut a piece just a little bit bigger than the monogram that you're going to do, and we're going to iron it to the back of the towel. So I'm going to do that with you here and try to position this. Now you can see the mess on the other side of the room. I showed the other side of the room yesterday, and it was, or on Friday, and it was nice and clean. Try to make sure the camera doesn't fall over while I show you this. Here we go. Hold Light is a really, really thin stabilizer. It's so fine that you probably will think when you touch it that it can't possibly do anything to stabilize the fabric. It looks like a cellophane, but it is a iron-on tearaway, permanent, super slippery stabilizer that we can iron onto the back of appliques, and it makes the fabric slip so you can applique without having to stop and pivot as often. I'm going to cut a piece off if I can find the end. It comes as a flat fold, 27 inches, and then by 10 feet or by 20 feet, depending on how much you do. And you can also use it for pattern drafting. So you can trace your pattern onto the stabilizer and then not actually cut out your piece. And I know that it seems weird, but you want the shiny side facing the iron. And I decided to monogram on this blue towel. One of the things that you're going to want to do is make sure that you are positioning your monogram where you want it to be on the actual towel, folding it first and ironing so that you know how it's going to hang on the stove or in the bathroom, however big your towel is, and then make sure that you are going to be straight in your positioning of your sticker. Now normally you'd have to mark everything, but we're going to use the Stick and Rinse stabilizer and use these little stickers to help us to position the monogram on the towel. So you'll be able to actually just lay the sticker right on there and then use your ruler and know that it's perfectly positioned. But before doing that, and since I kind of know where I want my monogram to be, I'm going to iron the piece of Hold Light onto the back of the towel first. And remember the reason, whoop, almost knocked you over. The reason I'm doing this is to make it so the terry cloth loops don't get pulled out when we remove the towel from the hoop. The iron has cooled down considerably, and it's just a real light touch. You don't need to sit on it very long, which is really, really important, because you can also do this on minky and fabrics that normally can't have any heat on them. So it's very light temperature, and now that locks the towel and won't let it stretch. And we're going to now go ahead and trace. This is what comes in an Octi-Hoop kit. You get instructions with some patterns and patterns to embroider, and these are also available on our website to print out right onto our stick and rinse. You also get an instructional DVD, 2 handles, 3 frames, and I'm going to go ahead and select, I'm going to go ahead and use a hoop that's close to the size of the Monogram. So we were using less stabilizer. And to get it ready, you lay the stabilizer down on the table. You do receive 3 feet of our stick and tear with the Octi-Hoop kit. Move that iron over. Oh, it'd be so much easier with a helper. And then with any kind of a pen, if you want to save stabilizer, you can line up this edge here. Let me get the camera in a better position. Sorry, guys. Whoa. There we go. If you want to save stabilizer, you just go and line it up on one end and on the other end here, and then you're just draw around. And then with your craft scissors, go ahead and cut out that shape. Have any of you already got our Octi-Hoops? If you do, go ahead and tell us in the comment. And if you do have them and you haven't used them yet, I hope that this will get you inspired. Now you grab a corner and you can kind of peel back by dragging your finger over it. My hands are a little bit dirty today because I was making some vintage pressers for people this morning. And the day ran a little long. Didn't have time to soak my fingers to get them all shiny for the video. Sorry about that. So we'll go ahead now and we fold back, just like you see here. And then lay it onto the hoop. And then just pull back. Set the hoop down on a flat surface and then just start stretching and rubbing, stretch and rub. And the ideal thing is to have this be so taut that it sounds like a drum. I moved my towel too far from me. Now with the shiny side facing down, you're going to lay your hoop, or lay the towel right over the hoop, and you can see now that the hoop is actually stuck to the towel. One of the things I really enjoy using are my quiltlets. They're elastic straps and safety pins, really high tech, and you can roll them and put elastic straps around the towel to keep it from moving too much on you. I'll show you. Now, you might be confused about the stick and rinse stabilizer. You can see I printed on the paper, and then I also have these stickers. And the reason I have two, both stickers and that, is because when you look on your computer screen, and I have a drawing program, so I threw all these letters and words onto my computer screen, and then I printed because I didn't know exactly where each letter would appear on the page. Some things are better than others for monogramming. This would not be a good monogram. The thicker, the better, when you're learning especially. One of the problems that you have with monogramming towels is getting the towel to disappear, and using just thread alone will cause your towel to experience way more stitching than you want to put on it. So we have some more stabilizers. This is an embroidery topper, and unlike water soluble, it's a permanent permanent stabilizer, and it comes in 16 different colors. So you select one that will match the thread that you're using. And I print out my stickers so that they're bigger than the monogram. You can see how there's a lot of the clear part sticking out past the border of the monogram, so that you can position your fabric cover underneath there and still have the sticker go around the outer border to hold down that stabilizer. So this is an embroidery topper. It's a vinyl, so it never washes out, and it allows you to use less thread. You can sew faster. It's used by professionals worldwide. We ship to major manufacturers that do embroidery for large companies, and they swear by it, as it also makes your embroidery look better than other people's. Have any of you ever embroidered a towel and then the towel got washed and then the embroidery did not look good anymore? You guys are welcome to talk, even though we don't have someone catching your comments. So this is our stick and rinse stabilizer, and I use our liquid-based glue when I go to print it out, and I just draw a line of it right along the leading edge of the stabilizer, slide my finger across it, and then put it down on the paper. So if you just wanted to print out one of these R's, that's all you would need to do, is stick just that piece right there. And then you put it back in your printer and you print again, and then when you come out with a sticker for use as an embroidery template. Once you've done that, and we do want to have less of this fabric cover. I got way too much here, so I'm going to cut it down. And a little more. So if you lay it over like that, then you can actually go under and trim it. You do want to have some sticking out past the monogram so you have something to grab hold of when you go to tear this away, because even though it's permanent, it will tear completely away within your, or after you've done your stitching. So that's a good amount right there. And now to measure and kind of eyeball. So you wouldn't want to have your monogram tipped to one side. You want to make sure that the bottom of the monogram is in line with the design element on the towel, where they do this kind of ribbing. And I think that's going to be a good spot. So now we'll go ahead and remove the release liner from the stick and rinse. And I usually use a piece of Scotch tape and go across and then peel it back. I don't want to make you wait while I find a piece. So in lieu of that, you can dampen your fingers a little bit and just start rolling it on one corner. Because remember, this is a water-soluble stabilizer, and it dissolves completely in even cool water, by the way, so you don't have to get your towel hot. And you'll be able to tear it away. There we go. Helps if you're looking at what you're doing. There. And now you can see we have this sticker. And we're going to go ahead and position it over the fabric cover. Now it's stuck to it. And now you can see that you're lined up nicely. And then just lay it down. So we are using one stabilizer for the back of the hoop, which allows you to adhere the towel directly to the stabilizer, and the hold light is actually bonded to the towel so that it won't get destroyed when we go to pull it away. And then we have the cover-up, which is our Panda Bear animal on our stabilizers, so you know you're getting our brand. And then on the top is our stick and rinse. So with all of that stabilization, and the word stabilize implies that we're trying to do what to our material? We're trying to lock the bias in the fabric, stop it from stretching. All of these things that you've seen me do can also be applied to embroidering right on the edge of a little infant hat, or embroidering on a onesie, because all you have to do is take the little onesie and go like this, stick your sticker on it, and then just lay just that spot on top of the stabilizer. And I will be showing you videos on handling these little teeny weeny little items. You can even embroider right on the side of a baby sock using the Octi-Hoops. This is the monogram that I did, and I wish I could have found this font in my computer. Apparently I lost it because it was a really pretty one. There's going to be fine details sometimes in monograms that if you have the embroidery topper under there, it won't tear clean away. So what you do is you would remove it from there after you do a few straight stitches. So I'll go ahead and start. I like to, if I'm using dark thread in the needle, use a dark bobbin. It doesn't have to match exactly, just having a thinner thread in the bobbin as well. This is our Invisifil line of 100 weight polyester thread. And something to note, since we did talk about baby stuff, if you are ever going to embroider on a baby outfit, I would recommend rayon or cotton thread, and using a nylon fusible interfacing to cover up the back of the embroidery after you're done embroidering, so that it doesn't injure the child, because polyester is abrasive and nylon is soft. Are any of you confused about anything? Oh, hi, Mary Adams, all the way from Scotland. Oh my goodness, we have a little Scottish in us. And I know that's something funny that Americans say. I'm Scottish, and I'm Irish, and I'm French Canadian, and we've got all kinds of stuff. We're basically American mutts. Hello from Chesapeake, Virginia. I think I'm going to be in Virginia this year. If you're wondering about my shows and events, know that we do have them listed at creativefeet.com. And under our shows and events page, I'd love to see you at a show, and then you can tell me when you come up to my table whether or not you were watching me live. I'm sorry, Tink, you gotta lay in your bed. So the thread that I like to use on top is a 40 weight polyester thread. This is by Marathon, and we will be adding this thread to creativefeet.com. We currently don't have an embroidery thread on there because our site was an older site, but now that we've got a brand new website, we're going to be able to bring in their line, which is close to 300 and I think 360 spools of colors. And let's see what kind of bobbin I think I already had. Yeah, I already have an Invisifil bobbin in there, so I don't need another one. And one of the things that I use always, in case you don't notice, is my thread dispenser. The thread dispenser allows the cone of thread. This is my little clutter area where you can see I have my lovely Applique scissors and my pressers and the adapter for the sewing machine, because when we use the Octi-Hoops, we don't need to use a foot. So this is the one of the posts, and we have two posts on the thread dispenser that allow you to go vertical with your cone of thread, which is the right way to feed cones of thread. And then this, you just take it all the way up to this little eye hook where there's posts where you can hold, I think I counted up to 36 bobbins can fit up there if you're using a class 15. And then you can also put your narrower spools of thread right there And you can also feed directly off of all these angled posts and take it right to the sewing machine. So in this case, I'm going up from the eye hook and I'm going to come over. And if you use a ceiling fan in your sewing room, which I would be doing if I weren't filming, then there's extra spots that you want to thread your thread through. You can take it through your bobbin winder right there, and what it does is it kind of just gives you more control, and I have to do this with two hands, so I'll let you stare at the toucan for a second, and I'll show you it all threaded. This is one of my hand-painted sewing machines. I do enjoy that very much, painting my machines, and plan to teach some art as well coming up. So if you're a member of our YouTube channel and you're interested in not just the sewing arts but also in the fine arts, I plan on teaching you guys some of that too. So right here you can see I threaded it through my little bobbin winder spring and then took it over here into the bobbin winder guide and then through the machine. Sound effects. And now my needle threader, unfortunately, is not working, and that is my fault. I'm not sure what I did, but now I am going back to old school and go ahead and put my fingernail behind to help me see the eye of the needle better. And using a 9014 universal needle, you can use embroidery needles if you like. And now you can see that the feed dogs are lowered, however they really aren't lowered, so I'm going to go ahead and actually lower them so that they stay down. It helps you see better when they're not tapping on the bottom. However, you really don't have to lower your needle or your feed dogs when working with the Octi-Hoops. I noticed that our quilting segment the other day did not film well because of the light on the sewing machine, so I'm going to try this. I know that the camera is in front of me, so this is going to be a little bit challenging. And I can't get the hole, so we have to take and pull back a little bit to expose the hole on the hoop and put the handle in it. Now if you only have one hand, you could just hold the hoop like this and move it like that, but there's no need to apply any downward pressure. You are going to hear it sound a little louder than normal because we are going to be sewing through 4 stabilizers. Let's see if I can't get that reflection to dissipate. Stick and rinse is matte finish so that the light doesn't reflect against your eyes. And I do need the light to be able to see, but maybe I can turn it down a little to help you guys see better. And I don't even know how to do my light. Do any of you know how to do it? There it is. So we'll take it down a little bit. That's a little better, so you don't have as much reflection. Okay, so the first step in doing the monogramming is that we want to go all the way around the perimeter of this with a straight stitch. And you could actually monogram this whole thing using just a straight stitch if you want. We're going to go ahead and think before you begin, where should I start? And it's good to start in a spot where as you go all the way around, you end up going all the way around and coming all the way for full circle back to where you were. So this is a really good spot to start. And we're going to go ahead and bring up our bobbin thread. Hi Bonnie from Augustine Bardo. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Wow. It's so neat that you guys are all watching from so far. The world is now a smaller place. Oh, I wonder where my tweezers are. Here's another pair. They cut this bobbin thread so short when you use the cutter. Sometimes it's hard to grab. This is one time when I do want to bring up my bobbin thread so I don't have a tail underneath. There we go. All right, I'm hoping I can do well looking through my cell phone. It does mess with my brain a bit. Now you see I have my threads and I'm putting my finger down on them. A lot of people grab hold of their threads like this, and you don't want to do that because it affects the first few stitches and can cause jamming in the machine. The presser foot is lowered despite not being on the machine. So you do want to lower the foot even though there's no foot on there. And the reason we do so is because if you don't, your tension discs are not closed and you will end up with loops on the bottom. Some people call those loops the bird's nest. All right, so now we can go ahead now, and since we're using a straight stitch, that's an adequate knot, and just start drawing around the perimeter. And the closer your stitches are to one another, the more you're perforating the blue fabric cover underneath, and the easier it will be to tear it away. If you're nervous to not use a foot, you're more than welcome to put a presser foot on. However, using the foot does block your vision, make it harder to see what you're doing. It's also hard to talk while doing something like this. It's kind of like typing and somebody walks in the room and you can't type anymore. So if I go quiet every now and then, that's why. My brain is needing me to think. In old days, we used to have to hold our fingers like this and move the hoop with our elbows in the air. But when working with the Octi-Hoops, my elbow is actually resting on the table and my hand is really loose. It's not pushing down or grabbing hold. It's just like you would support the paper when writing with a pen. And then on this side, my hand is resting on the sewing machine, and I'm writing ever so lightly with this pen, except for it's not really a pen. So, for instance, if you were writing on a piece of paper, how does this pen work? This is one of my lovely friction pens for quilting. So when you write, you always put one hand down to hold the paper and the other hand writes. But you've always had to squeeze and push down hard against the hard surface, pushing up on the back side of your paper. So writing on a piece of paper is actually more difficult than writing on fabric with the Octi-Hoops because we don't have to squeeze this handle. You can hold it in any way that feels comfortable for you, which makes it nice if you do have arthritis in your hands, if you don't have full range of motion anymore. And as I mentioned before, you can also just very, very easily move this without having to put your hands down on top. The stabilizers eliminate the need for a foot and eliminate the need for you to put your fingers down and get close to the needle. So if you've ever been afraid to do free motion because you thought you might sew through your finger, it's kind of like driving on a 2-lane highway in the dark. There's a diesel truck coming in the opposite side of the road, and if you look at the lights, you are likely to get in his lane, and that would not end well. So with the Octi-Hoops, I forgot what I was saying. Oh, live TV. Okay. So maybe one of you will remind me what I was trying to say. I'm going to go all the way back around again. because we get this chance to really perforate that, and I'm feeling a little bit more confident, so I'm going to go faster. Everything's held down pretty good. But since this is a different texture stabilizer, it's different, it has a different movement than the terry cloth towel will, I like to do one more thing before I start to do the final stitching. I wish I could play with you guys and read what you're saying. Alright, we've gone all the way around twice. Now I'm going to do what's called cross hatching. And it's basically just stitching across. And we're just doing this to get that fabric cover to bond really well with the towel. So it's just a little bit moving back and forth. Over the wider areas, you really don't need to do it in these smaller sections. Hi from New Jersey, Morgan. Hi, Morgan. I have a niece named Morgan, and she lives in New Jersey. And Martha, hi from Phoenix. I plan on having some events in Prescott. I know everyone's been wanting me to do it. Just know that it is coming. Every time I see someone from the local area, I know that I could have been teaching you already. So now we have Martha from, I already said that, from Phoenix. Aline from Illinois, hi. How many of you are having a rainy day today? We are having a stormy monsoonal flow, which is a blessing that we receive every July it begins, and we have thunder and lightning storms every night. It's a beautiful, well, not every night, but just about. So we're going to go ahead and do the same thing on this larger section of the R. And we're about to start having fun. All right, if you do not have a zigzag sewing machine, you can do a zigzag stitch with this by just slowing down the speed of your machine and moving the hoop. And this is actually, in my opinion, easier to do than ever tapering a zigzag stitch, because monograms vary all the way around the entire letter. So back in the day when we had sewing machines that had dials and you could taper with a stitch, a zigzag stitch tapering equally on both sides. So in other words, your zigzag starts out this wide, and back in the day, if you made your width smaller, it would taper evenly and come in. So we could do these beautiful swirling shapes. But nowadays, and maybe there's some machines out there that do have that again, but a lot of machines have the zigzag tapers only on one side. So you end up getting like rooftop looks instead of a nice taper like this. So tapering with this is the easiest method of doing your monogram. Resting elbows on the table. Do not push down. Take your time. This is one time when it pays to go slow. We've already made it so that the fabric cover, which is the blue material you see beneath the clear, for those of you who are coming in late, know that this is going to be stored inside of the Creative Feet group on Facebook and also on our YouTube channel for you to watch the entire episode, and that I plan on doing more live videos as time allows in between my traveling across the country. My next show is next week in Rowley, North Carolina. I hope you'll all come out and join me. Hello, not yellow. Billy, you think this is a wow? You can do the wow face. If you think what you're seeing is amazing, know that I'm not making this look easy. It is easy because you really are just writing. So if you have the ability to draw across like that with a pen, and a really, really good pen, you don't have to push down on it. So do you think you could fill that in with a crayon or a marker or a colored pencil? If you can, then you're able to do this, even though you don't think so. Those of you who don't know, there are holes on all 8 sides of the frames, and what you're not able to see beneath the material is that this is a frame just like this one here, and it has a stabilizer on the back side of it. Our hoops are designed for the sticker to apply to it directly, so there's no need for an inner and outer ring. Thank you for the love. I love the hearts. This is so much fun. It's kind of like being at a show, except for I don't get to see your faces. All right. And I must say, I enjoy making you all go, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. 30 years now, coming up here in August. The Octi-Hoops have been out for 12 years, in case you didn't know that. There we go. Now we got a really good angle. See if the camera can hold that. So here we have tapering, and it's kind of hard for my brain. So instead of trying to just continue around, I'm going to spin it. And you can do that with this hoop because we're not using a zigzag stitch. And switch the handle to another hole. And now I can see better, and I'm going to be able to go forward and back instead of side to side, which is what I was doing before. Of course, I can see very little because the cell phone is in my way. So here is a time when I'm going to not use the handle because I can't reach it. And I'm filming with a camera in front of my face. The joys of being a videographer. Here we go. So see how nicely that is tapering, even though it's just a straight stitch. So even with a featherweight or a treadle, those of you who go camping with your treadle machines, you can do monogramming and quilting with our Octi-Hoops. And remember, I have my speed control set really low for doing this. I'm not going fast, nor should you, unless you feel ready to. A lot of times when you think of free motion, you're picturing people with those long arm machines and they move really fast, and so you feel that kind of pressure that you have to go really fast, but you don't. You can go as slow as you want. And another thing about free motion is it's better to learn it alone in your room, in your sewing room, without anybody there, especially no one that you really admire and you're trying to impress. The brain does not like to learn under that kind of pressure. So what makes a monogram look good is to never change the stitch direction. Kind of like calligraphy. Have any of you done calligraphy before? If you have, post it in the comments below. If we were to suddenly switch the direction of the stitch, it would look like scribbling, like a younger child coloring in a coloring book, and they don't like how it looks, and they don't understand why, because they're not keeping the stitches going uniform. They're just kind of scribbling around in any direction. So you want to follow the same rules. Just go back in time in your mind. You're no longer your age now. You're back in the coloring book age, but you're really good at coloring now. So you're starting to really like it. And beneath this is fabric cover-up, or we used to call it that. Now we just call it cover-up. And basically its job is to cover up the thick nap of the towel. If you know anyone who does machine embroidery on an embroidery machine and they struggle with their stabilizers, know that this is the solution, even if you're using an embroidery machine. The Octi-Hoops pretty much turn your regular sewing machine into an embroidery machine. And you get to have the fun of being the one doing the work instead of pushing a button and watching the machine do the fun part for you. I have a testimonial on our, whoopsie, I went outside right there. So I'm going to want to remove that one afterward, but to make it really strong, I'm going to stitch across it. That'll anchor it and prevent it from falling apart. And that's because I don't have my speed control set for a good speed for this. I'm looking through a cell phone while doing this. So even if your machine is 80 years old and all it does is a straight stitch, even if it's 120 years old and all it does is a straight stitch, all we're doing is a straight stitch, even though the fabric is zigzagging. This is the basic easiest thing you'll ever do, but you got to be open to learning it. You got to believe that you can do it. You got to want to do it. Now I'm going to go all the way around and kind of sure up and make my outer edges look pretty. And you can come back and clean it up a little bit more like that. You don't have to do it all in one fell swoop. Spin it around again. And now I'm switching to another. Taking it out of that hole, take the hoop and spin it around. And isn't it nice that you have all these different sides of the hoop, all 8 sides of the hoop to put the handle in so that you can always be comfortable and barely moving your fingers. So it's very, very light touch on your fingers. And this is something you can all do. You may not have any interest in monogramming, but if you've ever wanted to do embroidery or do wall art, like art quilts, this is the solution for it. So you see how I'm going over, back, forward, forward, back, and that creates what appears to be a computerized stitch, but you're the computer. Go back up, and now we got this big stitch or this angle, and it seems like it's coming down, and it is. And if we move our stitch that way, it will not look as pretty. So you want to do smaller movements. And I slow down the machine. A lot of times people say, I make it look easy, but when you're the watcher, it seems like you're not really as aware of how slow I'm going. That's pretty slow, and I'm surprised you're all still with me. You can also write just fluidly, like you write with a pen and paper, and write on, like if you wanted to write poetry and do like some embroidery of some herbs for the kitchen, or embroider on your apron. You can do like Kiss the Cook and embroider some designs on it and have your own custom, I was going to say bib. It is kind of like a bib for an adult, isn't it? And you can embroider directly on bibs as well for babies and for those who have special needs. If you have children or grandchildren and they have clothing and you don't want it to get stolen, you can embroider their name by just writing their name inside the jacket or whatever it is that you don't want to get stolen. So up and down, up and down. See how it cleans it up, makes it look all pretty. I'm getting a little seasick doing this by looking inside of my cell phone. And everything I do on film, I always do better when I'm not filming. I think that's pretty much true of everyone that does the videos, because we have to talk while we're performing. And we're pretty much done, and then you get to see how it comes apart. Whoopsie. I never used to say whoopsie, now I say whoopsie. Alright, so before you remove your towel from the hoop, and I just cut my thread, that was the sound you heard. I'm going to go ahead now, and I taught a class of 105 students, 2 whole days of free motion, and we broke 3 needles out of all of those students, only 3 needles, and all of them were broken while the machine was not running when they went to remove the fabric from the machine. So be mindful of the fact that there's no foot protecting the needle as you pull it out, and because you want to save your needles. If you ever need any, we have them at creativefeet.com. Here we go. So before I ever take mine out of the hoop, I always kind of look up at the light, and sometimes I take it to the window and I let light shine from behind it to see if there are any gaps along there. And if there ever were, you could just put it right back in the hoop and do it again or touch it up. I don't really like how it looks up here, so I'm going to go over that a little bit more. You see how You can see the shine through that. Isn't that nice that the template kind of helps you to see by the reflection of the light? And we'll go ahead and do a little bit better job on the top. Now the reason I couldn't see is because I had the hoop in that position, so I'm going to turn it all the way around. Another thing that people do, and I'm giggling because I've done it, is the fabric is underneath the hoop and you're not aware of it, and then you stitch your towel to your hoop. If any of you have ever done that, go ahead and tell us in the comments. I'm sure that you guys might get a kick out of each other's mistakes. And we sure do learn a lot from our mistakes, don't we? Free motion is now so easy with the Octi-Hoops, and I know that I'm the maker of them, so it sounds a little, you know, braggy or salesman-y, but it's really true. And something that I always wanted to create. When my dad came out with his Hoop It All, I was like, you've got to make one of those for free motion, because free motion embroidery has always been so challenging and not very good for your body, as you have to sit in a really unhealthy posture. And so these were something I was designing in my head for like 16 years, and he finally said he wasn't going to do it and to go ahead and make them. So this is what was born out of it. The reason for the octagon shape, there's many reasons for it. It is a stronger shape than a circle, so your fabric doesn't pucker. And this is when you can even like go, I'm going to make that look a little better. There we go. All right. Ooh, how bad was that? But what's really neat about that is the cover up would be there to block it. So not everyone would see that. Only those observant sewers that look up close. Too close. Don't look so close at your work. It's okay to not be perfect, but I'm always striving for that. I'm not going to deny it. I would prefer to know that when I go over to my friend's house, their towels will be hanging because they still look good after they've been washed. If you've ever wondered why someone doesn't have your towels hanging out and they used to, it might be because the water-soluble stabilizer you used as a topper has washed away, and now the terry cloth in the loops start to work their way through the stitching, and it doesn't look clean anymore. All right, so I think I'm good. Do you? Do you think I did a good job? I don't know, I'm right a little bit more there, and then to save thread, I'm going to hop over. And because I didn't cut my bobbin thread, although it did, didn't it? Oh, I used the scissors. So now my bobbin thread is cut. It's okay. I got two handles in here, one right here. That's not good. It's blocking your view. If you ever lose your handles, we do sell them separately. And if any of you have bought handles and they're bigger than the holes on your Octi-Hoop frame, know that at one point we had one batch where the holes were a different size, and we still have handles to fit those hoops. And that was many, many, many years ago. So, all right, I'm done. So we're going to go ahead now and cut the thread and remove it and reveal our work. So one of the things that we do is we want to peel this off. And this is the stick and rinse stabilizer. So it's water-soluble stabilizer. And as you do, you're pulling to the stitching. And I still have it in the hoop, so the towel is stabilized and supported by the stabilizer beneath it. And you just see, pull toward it, and like at a 30-degree angle, and it just tears that stabilizer clean away. See how nice and clean that is? This is our embroidery topper called Cover Up, and you all need it. Even if you're embroidering on regular clothing, it makes your embroidery look richer. Holding down the towel, tearing at an angle, not just straight at the stitching. We want to protect the stitches, although this has been stitched so many times, there's no way those are coming out. And just keep tearing. And it is not terrible that this is terrible. Sorry, I got a little corny there. As I feel like I'm just talking to myself because I don't get to look at the screen. Now you have your tweezers, and I carried my Applique tweezers off somewhere, so I don't know where they are. They're my favorite ones to use for this because they're flat, so you're less likely to catch the loops with your tweezers. And this is the tail that I should have cut, so I'm going to go ahead and cut that. You want to be slow about this because you don't want to tear one of those loops. You work this hard, you want to make sure that you keep your patience level up. I think this video is going rather well considering I don't have a helper. I hope you guys are entertaining one another by chatting. I don't know what Amy Hernandez, more than once what? Oh, you stitched your fabric underneath the hoop more than once? I sewed through my finger once. I get asked that all the time. One time I was about 20 years old and I was teaching an embroidery class. And that was back before I invented anything. And I'd held my fingers like this, and a student thought I was getting too close. And she went, oh my God. And I went, what? And then, yeah, so her panic made me jerk, and then I did sew through my finger. But only once. And I've been sewing and teaching sewing now for close to 36 years. Ay, ay, ay. I feel old when I say that. Oh, I caught one of the loops. See, and that's because I'm looking through my cell phone. You should wear magnifying glasses if you need them, and I do need them. So I got one loop there that I could probably pull through with a burr puller, and that's something you can use on sweaters as well. All right, so the back now, you pull and still connected to the hoop. The hold light is staying against the stabilizer and the towel's coming clean away. See how nice that is? This is also something I do on baseball caps as well. Iron the hold light to the back of the cap, then none of the adhesive from the stabilizer remains on the hat and you don't get it in your hair. Hold light is one of my favorite stabilizers, and you all need it so bad you just don't know it until you find out. And you can also use it to iron on sweaters and do buttonholes on sweaters, and it's the only stabilizer I ever used that allowed me to embroider on lame without tearing the lame material. So actually in that instance I laid on top and bottom for applique. Then when you're done, you end up with a little hole in your stabilizer. And the hold light can peel off. It's loud though. I don't want to put you through it. And it'll pull off, still leaving the sticky. So you haven't wasted anything by doing this. Just saved yourself the headache of having the loops on your towel on the back side pull up. See how nice and together they are. Okay, I'm going to switch around and talk face to face with you a little bit, and we'll finish up this video. Hi everybody. I'm getting a little sleepy. I get very relaxed when I use the Octi-Hoops. It feels like I had a little glass of wine when I'm done. There we go. Okay, so I can't really catch up on all the chatting that you've done. We'll go ahead and reveal the towel and fold it up here. Done with a straight stitch sewing machine. Straight stitch, not a zigzag. For those of you who are joining us later, this is how to monogram on a towel using any home sewing machine, even a featherweight or a treadle. So you can all do this without spending an arm and a leg. Now, do any of you have any questions for me? The last post, the next video that I plan on doing is applique. I got asked quite a few times to teach the satin stitch applique. I do have videos on our YouTube channel, and I believe we've also posted them inside of our Creative Feet Facebook page, so you can review those. But satin stitch applique has never been easier than with our foot, but if you don't first understand how to use it with our foot, it can seem very intimidating. What is reversed? Yes, I reversed the camera. Is that what you mean? Because I'm ending the video by talking to you, and so Lorraine, you said it's reversed. Oh, is it the letter is backwards because it's a camera? So it's an R, but it's facing the wrong way. I don't know what you mean, other than I did just flip the camera. The R, okay. Well, in real life, it's facing the correct direction. So you're probably thinking about applique. If you do applique, you have to reverse your designs, but with our stick and rinse stabilizer, the sticker, so this is also facing the wrong direction, but in real life it is facing the right direction. Now you know when you watch TV that you're looking at someone's left hand when you're thinking you're only seeing their right hand, and you know your brain just kind of accepts that. A lot of people don't notice it, but so now, does that R look correct to you? But it's wrong. Oh, there we go. So the R looks correct to you now, right? But if you were to stitch that way, when you look at the towel in real life, that R would be the wrong direction. The stick and rinse allows you to print and then stick it down, and you actually are not having to do any prep work. You just print it out. Or if you don't have a printer, you can just take a Sharpie marker and draw over any letter that you find anywhere on anything using our stick and rinse. And the Sharpie marker, just like the ink from your inkjet printer, will just go right down the drain whenever the towel is washed. Stick and tear is under the towel. Yes, Nancy. It's the tree frog stabilizer. And here it is. So I'll recap. Stick and tear. Whoops, upside down. Can you read that? Is that right side or is that backwards? So this is the same principles behind it. This says stick and tear, and it is a permanent polyester material, not paper. So if you've ever heard the term sticky paper, that is not what we offer here. We offer you a permanent polyester fabric, and it doesn't have a bias, so it doesn't stretch. And what it does is it locks the bias in the material so that you can embroider on t-shirts and sweatshirts, and your fabric just lays there and it goes, okay, embroider on me, I won't stretch. You can do whatever you want to me. So using our stabilizers ensures that your material is always going to look good even after hundreds of washings. As I have this little t-shirt that I did 12 years ago, and I wash it on a regular basis and bring it back to the show. And the shirt's starting to rot, but the embroidery looks the same as the first day I did it. This is the stick and tear, and it has a shiny release liner on one side, and it tears in any direction. It doesn't have a stitch count limit, so if you've been told about limiting your stitch count to a certain number of stitches, you don't have to worry about it. It's also patchable, so the hoop that I used before, what did I do with it? It's amazing how something can disappear in 5 seconds. So I have this little hole here, and ours is patchable, which means it is okay to stick another piece of this beneath it. And when you do that, you always want to do it on a flat surface, and then take the release liner and put it back on top, and you can rub it because the release liner is not gonna get sticky. And then now you have a new solid area, and you can lay the next item on top of that and go ahead and now embroider your next towel without having to replace the entire sheet and it's still really tight and taut. It's very soft. It's not scratchy. I've touched other fusible tearaway stabilizers that came out after my dad invented this years ago, and they are not the same. This is doesn't gum up your needle. That's why when you see me at shows, if you've ever seen me at a show, I'll embroider and embroider and embroider through this sticker on top of the other sticker, and my needle does not get gummy. I even let customers touch the needle afterwards. You're welcome, Amy. You know, I do love teaching. It's my favorite thing. I love empowering you. And now I'm going to leave you with some thoughts. You need to believe that you can do this. You can. Where's the camera on this? You can do this whether you think so or not. I know some people go, oh, you make it look so easy, but it's not. The release liner is a freezer paper, and it's really heavy freezer paper. And the reason that it is, because I've tried to get it, I talked to our the company that makes it for us, because we are the actual manufacturer of it. But I said, is there any way we can go lighter for the economy, you know, or for the environment's sake? And they said actually to go to a smaller stable or a thinner one would cause the adhesive to not flow properly, and so our stabilizer would not be as good. And also, more people use this one, so there's less paper being produced, and it ends up being better for the environment. And this stabilizer, or this paper, is really cool. So it's a very heavy freezer paper, and you can tape it to a piece of inkjet printer paper and run it through your printer, and you print on the wax side. And this is when you want to have a friend around to help you, because when the paper comes out, the ink will be floating on top of the wax, and then you can lay fabric on top and iron it with your iron, and it sets the ink into the fabric. So that's a fun thing for you to do so that you're not wasting it. And anytime anything ever calls for freezer paper, well, you'll have extra freezer paper around. I like to use it as a pressing cloth instead of the Teflon sheets. So do any of you have any other questions? The release liner on the stick and rinse stabilizer is a very thin plastic. I haven't really come up with any other uses for it. My eyes are burning today. I hope they don't look too tired. Let's see. Okay, I can see I can read so much better on this computer screen. So let's see, I'll scroll real quick to see if there's any questions I did not address. Oh, I can't scroll until the video's over. So, thank you all for joining me here today on this stormy day in Prescott Valley, Arizona, where I reside. Next week I'll be in Rowley, North Carolina at the Original Sewing and Quilting Expo. If you're in the area, I'd love to see you there. And if you know anyone that doesn't know about the show, be sure to let them know. I challenge you to look in the mirror and say to yourself, I can do this. If I can drive a car, I certainly can do free motion. You just never had the right hoop for it. You always had to use a foot, and now eliminating those two things and allowing yourself to write with a little crayon, you actually can do this. And it's also a fun thing to do with grandchildren. We had a group of kids when I had a gallery, and did have a gallery in Prescott for a year. It didn't go well because I was never there. So, but when I was there, I did have some kids come in, and there was a group of children that had ADD and ADHD, and we had several sewing machines set up, and they were all using the hoops, and their parents kept hitting each other like, do you see this child just sitting there? And we couldn't get them off the machine. They were like sitting there for over an hour just coloring with the sewing machine. So you can embroider on anything, including towels, and on any machine. So with all that, unless any of you have another question, I'm going to call it a day and plan my next live episode with you all. Have a great day. Happy sewing. Bye.